So what if the real key to success in business wasn't some static tool or a rigid checklist, but a living, breathing ecosystem? That's exactly what we're diving into today with the Ohno method. It's a completely different way of looking at transformation really from the ground up.
Okay, let's kick things off with the big question that really got this whole thing started. Is there a way to build, a living architecture, to tackle business challenges, a system that can actually solve problems as they happen in real time instead of just dusting off some old case study about what worked for another company years ago? It's a game changer of a question.
All right, our first section, beyond the business case. We're going to look at the fundamental flaw in the old way of doing things.
So here's the problem, right? Whenever we face something new or unexpected, what's our first instinct? We grab a case study. But the thing is, that's like trying to use a map of a desert road when you're actually stuck in the middle of a raging river. It just doesn't work. These case studies are just snapshots of the past, and they created this really rigid, dogmatic way of thinking, where people started believing that just installing a tool was the same thing as actually being successful. Big difference. And you can see that shift perfectly laid out here. On one side, you've got the old academic way, static, rigid, just dogmatic. But on the other side, you have this pragmatic approach they were hunting for, something dynamic, alive, and always creating novel solutions. It's a massive shift, really. It's about moving from a strict rule book to a flexible mindset. So, Section 2 is a quest for wisdom. And you got to understand, this whole realization didn't come from some dusty old textbook. It was born from a real search for something more. The real spark, the catalyst, came from a series of study trips to Japan. The authors were there, seeing this incredible success firsthand, but they just had this gut feeling that the standard explanations, well, they were missing something crucial. It was pretty clear it wasn't just about the tools they were using. No, it was something deeper, something unseen, a fundamental way of thinking that was the glue holding everything together.
And look, this was not some overnight aha moment. This timeline really drives that home. We're talking about a journey that's been going on for almost 2 decades. It kicked off way back in 2009 with a pivotal meeting with Mr. Hitoshi Yamada, who was himself a protege of the legend Taiichi Ohno. Then, by 2015, it wasn't just a side project. It was a full-time mission to truly understand what they called the tacit workings, all the unwritten rules and that unspoken intuitive knowledge at the very core of Ohno's philosophy.
So, after all that time, all that dedication, this long journey led to something huge, a real revelation. They were uncovering Ohno's lost works.
And what's so important to get here is that this wasn't some kind of book research. No way. It was a true apprenticeship. We're talking countless hours of hands-on, practical learning. And after all that, Mr. Yamada basically endorsed them with a single, clear mission: to finally write down what had never been written, to translate these unspoken truths of Ohno's vision so the rest of the world could finally understand.
43. Just let that number sink in. 43 years. That's how long it took Toyota, his own company, to formally recognize Taiichi Ohno in the Automotive Hall of Fame after he left. Which begs the question, what on earth took so long? Well, the answer is kind of shocking, really. It's because even Toyota themselves admitted they had lost the original spirit of what Ohno had created. And this quote from the Hall of Fame says it all. His innovations are just as relevant today as they were 70 years ago. So, you see, this whole quest wasn't just about digging up some old method, it was about reviving an entire lost philosophy.
Okay, that brings us to Section 4, an ecosystem of transformation. So we've heard the incredible story of how this was all rediscovered. Now let's get into the core idea itself.
So, what do we actually mean when we say ecosystem? First off, it is absolutely not a checklist. As you can see from the definition here, it's a multidimensional framework where all the different parts are designed to work together, in unison. The whole way you think about a problem has to change. It's not, okay, what's step 1? Instead, it's, how do all these pieces connect and balance each other out right here, right now?
Let's break that down a little more. What makes it an ecosystem? Well, for one, it's multidimensional and has real depth. We're not just talking about the factory floor. We're talking about finance, HR, marketing, the whole shebang. It's bound by what's called interlaced continuity, which is a fancy way of saying everything is woven together seamlessly. All the elements are dynamically linked, right? So a small change over here can create huge ripples over there. And the goal is for it all to operate in unison, always trying to find a natural state of balance or equilibrium. It's a completely holistic way of looking at a business.
And this is so important. This isn't just about preserving some piece of history. It's all about taking that legacy and completely reimagining it for today, for the modern age.
And this is really where the whole story comes full circle. See, the goal isn't just to rediscover Ohno's principles, it's to advance them. And how do you do that? By bringing in modern information technology, by using informational architecture to build something like a digital nervous system for the company, making the entire ecosystem visible, tangible, and manageable for any business today.
Okay, so how do you actually put this into practice? Well, it boils down to a three-step process. First, you align. This means weaving business and IT together so they're interdependent, finally breaking down those old silos. Second, you identify. You have to pinpoint the exact activities that are going to bridge that gap and lead to real transformation. And finally, you build. You create the actual digital platforms that make this whole ecosystem idea tangible, turning a brilliant strategy into something people use in their daily work.
And that really brings us to the final big question for you. As you think about your own organization, your own team, I want you to ask yourself this. Is it being run like a static machine, just blindly following a rigid set of instructions? Or is it being nurtured like a living ecosystem, something that's capable of adapting, of balancing itself, and truly transforming in real time? Really think about it, because the answer, well, it just might change everything.